Welcome to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms. Many of us are starting to think about tax season coming up, which is never a lot of fun. But today you'll meet a gentleman that turned a tax problem into $1 billion business and helped a whole bunch of people along the way. It's a great story that'll inspire you, and you'll learn a lot today on the Real Estate Guys radio program.
If you love real estate and have always wanted to own your own business, listen up. The Real Estate Guys and their panel of experts want to teach you how to go full-time fast in the real estate syndication business. These next few years may go down in history as one of the best times ever to acquire investment real estate. There are deals everywhere if you know where to look and how to assemble the resources. The Secrets of Successful Syndication seminar will show you how to make big money doing big deals from a team of experts that have syndicated projects totaling more than $1 billion. Don't wait for someone to give you a raise or create a job for you. Attend the Secrets of Successful Syndication and learn how to build a team, raise capital, find deals, and make full-time money in 6 months or less. Go to realestateguysradio.com and click on events. All the big players use syndication as a way to diversify risk, optimize profits, and earn big money. You can too. Go to realestateguysradio.com and click on events.
Welcome to the Real Estate Guys radio show. I'm your host, Robert Helms, and in the co-host seat, it's our financial strategist, Russell Gray.
Hey, Robert.
You know what happens this time of year? People are starting to think about their taxes. They're getting those forms in the mail from interest and dividends and partnerships and all of that, and they maybe are taking it to their tax professional in a big box and ruining the day that they have to make that obligation, that big payment to the government. It's a great time to be thinking about taxes. Today, we're going to talk about how a tax problem led to a friend of ours raising over $1 billion.
Yeah, you know, our friend Tom Wheelwright talks all the time about if you want to change your tax, you got to change your facts. And the truth is, and we actually have a transcript of a speech given by a Federal Reserve president back in 1946, where he admits that because the government, through the Federal Reserve, has the ability to print unlimited amounts of money, they really don't need to tax for the money. Reason they have the tax is to affect behavior. Specifically corporations. They want corporations to be able to do the things they want them to do, to produce the things they want them to produce. And so Tom puts a positive spin on it, which is that the government is your hidden partner. And if you'll just do what the government wants you to do, you'll have all kinds of tax advantages to do it. And obviously real estate has been a big part of that for a long time, but not just real estate, other forms of investing. The point is, they want to direct capital into the infrastructure, the things that they want to do. In a capitalistic society, private capital has to create a lot of the infrastructure that society depends upon. So the government can't be directly involved in it because they're not supposed to be in private business. They're supposed to protect private businesses' ability to do business, but they use the tax code to direct those efforts. And when you really understand that concept and you really study it and then modify your behavior to take advantage of what the code is incentivizing you to do, you literally can create millions and millions, if not billions of dollars of income and pay next to no tax on it because you're doing what the government wants you to do. And so today we get a chance to visit with a guy who heard that message and began to figure that out, changed his behavior, and all of a sudden had a big, big business.
Think about that. You've got a big tax obligation, and rather than just whine and moan about it and figure out how to earn more money to pay your big tax bill, you decide to turn that around and help other people with the same problem. Very inspirational. And we're excited to have Dave Zook back on the program. He's just hit a big milestone he'll tell you about next. You're tuned to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms.
Live nationwide, you're listening to the Real Estate Guys. Find out more at realestateguysradio.com.
All aboard. Registration is open for the Real Estate Guys 22nd Annual Investor Summit. Imagine spending more than a week with like-minded investors, world-class educators, and real-world professionals. Returning in 2024 is the editor of the Gold newsletter, Brian London, real estate developer Beth Clifford, and the rebel capitalist George Gammon. Back with us in 2024, sales legend and best-selling author Tom Hopkins. And joining us live and in person for his 12th Investor Summit, Ken McElroy. Plus 2 brand new faculty members we can't even mention yet, and a lot more. It all begins June 13th in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Visit investorsummitatc.com to get all the details and reserve your spot. This transformational week is like no conference you've ever attended. Go to investorsummitatc.com and make plans to spend a week with the real estate guys, Ken McElroy, Tom Hawkins, and an all-star faculty on the 22nd annual Investors Summit at Sea.
Too many people become victims of frivolous lawsuits and scammers simply because they were unprepared. At Corporate Direct, we use the latest legal tools to help our clients of all sizes create a strategy to protect what is theirs. Asset protection is not only for the wealthy. Our strategies and tools are very affordable and practical. Give us a call at 1-800-600-1760 or go to corporatedirect.com to see how we can help you. That's 1-800-600-1760 for corporatedirect.com.
Hi, I'm Robert Kiyosaki, and I encourage you to listen to those wild and crazy real estate guys. They're the best, been working for years, and they know what they're talking about.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Guys radio program, now in our 28th year of broadcast. Oh my gosh, what a long, strange trip it's been. We're talking today about some alternative ways to invest. We've been all over the planet in the last few weeks, and this week we're going to hunker down with our good friend, the real asset investor, Dave Zook. Hey, Dave.
Hey, Robert. Good to see you.
Always good to see you, my friend. And I guess right out of the gate, let's get the celebration going. You have been raising capital to help people do all kinds of real estate and business transactions. And you just passed a really big milestone. Tell us about that.
You know, it's sort of been on our radar for the last, especially the last year and a half. You know, we were closing in on the mark, but we just closed a few weeks ago. We just closed the $1 billion mark. So it's been kind of a big milestone hanging out there. And look, I've got a great team, and they were working hard, and we got it done.
Well, it's such a great story, and huge hats off to you for not just starting this whole thing, but bringing aboard that team you talk of, because you don't get to $1 billion on your own, that's for sure. But this is $1 billion of capital raised, not $1 billion worth of real estate deals or transactions, but $1 billion of capital wrestled from Wall Street and put into good Main Street deals, which is one of the things we love to talk about here. And it has been a journey. You started out as a guy that wasn't even that interested in real estate.
You know, when I was in my teens and early 20s, I made up my mind that I wasn't going to invest in real estate at all. I saw my dad invest in real estate, and he did okay. He bought farms and land and single family homes and self-managed some of those single family homes. And it was for that reason. Of course, I got a front row seat and saw some of the problems, from people living in your homes and self-management. So I quickly decided at a young age that I wasn't going to be a real estate investor. And then I, really put my focus into building some businesses and started making a lot of money. These businesses started doing really well, and got to the point where I was paying a lot of tax. And I thought, man, there's got to be a way. I kept hearing these people talking about, Robert Kiyosaki was talking about how you could make, millions of dollars a year and pay no tax legally. And so, I started researching and went to live events and did webinars and went to the Summit at Sea with you guys. And, primarily because Robert Kiyosaki was there talking about it. He had me annoyed because that wasn't my case. I was always taught from the time I was a kid that if you make a lot of money, you got to pay a lot of tax. So it was quite a journey to get there. And when I realized that many of these people were using real estate to offset their tax liability, I quickly became very interested. And I went from not wanting to own any to I couldn't get my hands on enough of it.
Yeah, I remember shortly after that, you came on our Memphis field trip. A couple of weeks ago, we were back in Memphis, and wow, that market has continued to blossom in lots of ways. But you started to be enamored of the multifamily space, and I think the first few deals you did were just with family and friends and folks like that.
I really didn't, you're right, I really didn't start out in this investing journey thinking that I was going to syndicate anything. I was just investing for myself. I had a problem. I had a tax problem. Of course, I quickly realized that you could also boost your income, and there's a lot of other incentives there to get me really interested in real estate. But I had a problem of my own. So I started investing and got into some good deals and met some good people and really started getting the game. And then of course, this is 2013, 14, a great time to be buying assets. And, now I've got my team in place and we've got kind of a system set up and I invited my dad and my brothers and then my, business associates, people we've been doing business with for a long time. I tell them the story. Hey, this is what we're doing. Can you, what do you think? Do you want to help me on the next deal? Because I was out of cash. I'd bought several hundred units of my own and I sort of just kind of went down that path without really realizing early on that that's where I was headed. And, here we are today, $1 billion later, and, still going strong.
Well, one of the things I appreciate about your journey is because you came through the door of having this tax issue that you could solve through real estate investing, you started to pay attention to other folks in your community and people in your business circles who were having these same issues. And you could say, hey, guys, if you want to talk about that, that was me. And now, here's what I did. So much so that that's one of your areas of, I think, unique selling proposition as you talk to guys that have had a liquidity event, sold a business, get in a position where they're like, man, Dave, I'm paying so much tax. And although you're not a tax professional, you've fashioned yourself kind of into a tax strategist.
Yeah. So, one of the things that happened to me when I heard about it, it was one thing. And it was like, wow, that's really interesting. But when I actually saw how it worked, there's no way you can ever go back. When I saw how it worked and realized that, oh my goodness, I was getting punished for the way I was doing business and for the way I was investing. And when I realized that, if I just start behaving differently and I start investing differently and I start doing business a little differently, really that old conventional wisdom of if you make a lot of money, you got to pay a lot of tax. It was like the chains, it was like bondage that just, fell off of me. And once I realized how it worked and how it was working for me, I couldn't keep quiet about it. It was like, I realized there was a lot of other business owners, primarily just around me in my community that I realized I could help. And so I started having these discussions and then, of course, teamed up with a really good CPA and started, bringing him in on some of these conversations to help these people's and their problems. And even today, it's interesting today, while I know a lot of this stuff, and there's some times when we'll have, some complicated business liquidations and that kind of stuff where I'm involved in, I'll bring my CPA right into the deal. And I'm always on that call. It doesn't seem to matter how often we do the calls. It seems like I learn something every time. And that's what it's all about. The more I learn for myself, the more I can help others. And that's what's exciting about being in this space.
Love that. And we hear your energy in your voice when you talk about it. Dave, there's all kinds of ways to invest, and there's certainly lots of ways to invest in real estate. But I kind of look at it as two categories. There's hands-on. Involved. You're scouting out the deals. Maybe you're actually doing some of the fix up yourself and you're, managing the tenants like your dad has over the years. You're hands-on and you're active. And then the other way is to be passive, to invest alongside folks that are doing deals. And let's talk about those two things. Many of the people you're able to help are passive investors. They're running busy businesses or they have jobs and they have families and they're not interested in being a full-time real estate person, but they want exposure to real estate. And so today, you guys syndicate more than just real estate. And syndication is just simply, aggregating capital to do bigger deals. And certainly you do a lot of real estate deals, but you've also found some other unique niches. So we'll get to what some of those niches are, and especially one that we're super excited about for you before we're done here. But just take us through the mentality of sitting with someone who hasn't invested before. They're sitting on a pile of money, and you have to kind of counsel them as to how they can get a passive return.
Yeah. And so you're right. There's many of these very successful business people who are sort of, maybe they're my age, maybe they're, in their 40s and maybe even in their 50s and have sort of plateaued. They're good. They don't have aspirations of doubling their business, the size of their business in the next 3 years. And they're good. I guess you could say they build up a team and they're kind of on cruise control a little bit. They want to enjoy life a little bit more. They've spent the last 20 years really building their business and putting a lot of time, sweat, and energy into it. And so those people, one, I'm always amazed at how very sophisticated many of these guys are on the business side, but how unsophisticated they are on the tax side. And so I can help them on the tax side. I can also help them, build their passive income stream. These guys were used to everything they earned all their life was because of the result of something that they were actively involved in. So it is kind of a paradigm shift in their mind. Is like, oh wait, I actually can make money and I don't have to work. And so taking them down that path and then showing them how it works. Showing them, hey, this is a deal that we've been working on for the last 10 years and 11 years. And here's how it works. Here's how the cash flow works. Here's how the tax works. And getting them to the point where, or maybe it's even a little bit earlier than that, where they're neck deep in their business. And their best return is going to be if they keep their head in that business. So the argument can be made, look, you don't have time to go out and do the research. You don't have time to go out and build the teams, get out there in the industry and meet the absolute best self-storage operator that you can find anywhere in the country, or to get out there and to build one of the best car wash teams in the country. You don't have time to do that, nor should you put your time and energy into that thing. You got a thriving business going on here that needs you. What are you going to do with the cash that you earn from your business? And so walking them through that and getting them to the point where they realize that, if I fall and break my back and I can't work anymore, I want to build up a passive income stream. So many times it's just getting people to think about it that way and getting them to realize that they don't have to be active in the business to get their dollars to work for them.
It's a great point. It's one of the misnomers of real estate that people think real estate investing is flipping houses. I'm going to have a paintbrush on the weekend, but it absolutely doesn't have to be. There's the extreme publicly traded real estate investment trusts and companies you can invest in. But when we talk about a syndication or a private placement, this is really a specialized investment where there isn't a lot of the overhead and load and things that those funds kind of have. There's no churning to get fees and so forth. Instead, you're investing either in a single asset, and you've done some of that, or in more of a fund scenario where you're investing into a variety of things. And you guys have done a great job of having kind of a menu. So I always talk about with syndicators, if you only do one thing, well, that's okay. Get rich in a niche, do something and get good at it. And now you're kind of the person that has a reputation of knowing that space. But should that space fall out of favor, or should your investors decide they have enough exposure to that particular product type, then they're on to the next person, where you've taken a really interesting approach. Rather than be known as a guy that does apartments or car washes or ATMs or self-storage. Instead, you're known as a guy that invests in real assets, things that are tangible, things that people can understand. And you do kind of offer that menu of opportunity.
Yeah. So to that point, I've been asked a number of times, like, how do you just run around and try to find these asset classes for your investors to invest in? And it's actually quite the opposite. And it sounds a little bit selfish because I really am doing this for myself first. Like I'm investing in these different asset classes because I have a need. And then what happens is if I get into an asset class that I really feel strongly about, and I get in with a team, an operations team that I'm really excited about, and it's in a scenario where they've got room to scale, then I'll bring it to my investors. So it starts with me and a need that I have. I have a need, one of my needs is, okay, I need to protect my income from the tax side on my ordinary income. Well, what do you do about that? That looks a lot different than if you have a lot of passive income or capital gains event or something like that. So I have different asset classes that do different things for me. And then, of course, there's other people out there that have that same problem. And it's just a lot of fun helping them connect the dots, helping them keep the money that they earn, building lifelong, in some cases, lifelong income streams, and that's what we do here, and it's exciting. But it really starts with me and the asset classes that you'll see that I have available to my investors. I put them together for me, and it's asset classes that I love, and it's kind of the same thing as the tax story. When I realized that thing wasn't true about how you get taxed if you make a lot of money, I had to tell other people. And same way with the asset classes. When I realize I'm onto something with an asset class with a really good operations team, I can't keep it to myself. I just got to go tell people.
Love that. When you've heard the good news, you definitely want to pass it on. Hey, Dave, before we're done today, we're going to give folks a chance to hear about the latest kind of project you're involved in, which is super cool. But before we do that, I want to transition a little bit, because it's great that folks listening might think, hey, here's different kinds of products and real estate markets and things I can be exposed to. But a lot of our listeners are those entrepreneurs. Maybe they're folks that, have built up a nice portfolio themselves, and they are in the position you were, that they are deployed, their money's at work, and they got to either sit on their hands and wait to get some more capital, or go down the path you went down, which is to figure out how to raise money. So coming up in short order, we have our Secrets of Successful Syndication events, 2 days where we teach syndication. You have been a faculty member at that for many, many years, which we love. But talk to that group for a minute, someone who has reached a level of success in real estate and could do more if they had more capital.
Yeah, so this is where, in your room, is where I learned how to do this. And so if you're out there, listening to the Real Estate Guys radio show, and you've heard the ads for, come see us at the Secrets of Successful Syndication, and you're wondering if these guys are, know what they're talking about, this is where I learned how to raise capital. And, I thought back when I started, if I could just raise $3 to $5 million, I would be I'd be a real syndicator. We could do a multifamily deal or two like that. And I would have considered that a good return on my investment for coming to your syndication event. Here we are later, and we've cleared that by a lot. But no, so I'm talking to anyone who's listening to this who feels like you've sort of maybe plateaued, maybe you've run out of your own money, and you see an opportunity in the marketplace. You see there's your family, your friends, your coworkers, you could help them get their money to working for them in good, solid real estate deals. If you're thinking about raising other people's money, this is serious business. And you want to learn how to do it right. You want to learn how to do it legally. And there's no better place that I know of that you can come to learn how to do syndication and do it the right way. Come to Dallas next month to the Secrets of Successful Syndication. I'll be there, and Robert and Russ, you guys will be there running the show. There's a bunch of other folks always that are there that just really good people. It's one of the things that keeps me coming back all the time, is not only to learn more myself, but to hang out with, you guys know how to put a bunch of good people in a room, and I love that.
Well, and I love the fact that you do hang out and get in conversations and visit with people and encourage people, because you've been through all the ups and the downs. And when you start out in this business, there are some hurdles you got to get through, and you got to pay attention to the legal side, which is why we have more than one attorney at this event, and the tax side, which is why we have CPA Tom Wheelwright coming to the event. But it also is a way to get around what we call proof of concept, right? Other folks who started out in the seats, eager to learn about it, and now have raised 10 million or 100 million or $1 billion. So it really is a great, great opportunity. Before we leave the topic, though, I do want to address something that we're seeing, which is folks are thinking, well, I don't know that it's a good time. Interest rates are up, and I've heard about all the distress in office and even some multifamily. Maybe I should wait a few years. Can you speak to that?
Yeah. So millionaires and billionaires get made when times are tough. When everything is going well and the real estate markets are red hot or white hot, if you're just getting into the market then and you're really playing only at those times, that's wealth that oftentimes trades hands during a correction. if you can take a position when things aren't so good, when interest rates are high, at the end of the day, the numbers got to work, right? So if you're paying 3% for your loan and the numbers work, they might not work at 7. But if you start at 7 or 8 and those numbers work, and you lock that, interest rate in, and lock that fixed rate debt, put fixed rate debt on your properties so you can, get some security or some safety around that. And then if things start easing and they start, interest rates start trending lower, now you can refinance that. These are the times when there's trouble in the market. You talked about before the show started how you're seeing some distress in the market. There's a number of things happening. There's bridge debt that's out there that's a problem. That's the way over the last 2 to 3 years that many apartment building deals got done. Those things turned into a problem. The other thing is, you've got 5-year fixed rate debt, that's coming due, and this year and next year. People who are into those deals at a 3% interest rate, and now they're going to have to refinance into 7+ in some cases, many cases. And so these are the times. These are the times to be active in the markets. And it may not be the time to just go out and buy everything's for sale, but it is the time when you can get a deal to pencil at these interest rate and these levels. Could be a great time to get in the game.
Yeah, and I think there's the whole element that when you're doing something you haven't done and you do need some training and you do need some education, maybe you've got a great real estate niche, maybe you have a market and a team, but you could do more if you had more capital. Well, it takes some time, as you know, Dave, to get that business up and running. It doesn't just overnight start spewing cash. It takes some time. You have to get through the legal side of it. You have to understand the business practices. And so I can't think of a better time to get in position so that you are ready to go when those distressed deals start to show up in the market, which we know they will. We're with Dave Zook today. He's the real asset investor. He's got a cool new project we're going to talk about next. Plus, when we come back, we'll play real estate trivia. You're tuned to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms.
Real estate investment advice right in your mailbox. Sign up for the free Real Estate Guys newsletter at realestateguysradio.com.
Hey, it's Robert Helms. Thanks so much for listening to the show today. I want to personally invite you to come see an amazing real estate market that combines excellent cash flow, offshore diversification, and what we affectionately call lifestyle investing. Come join me from July 19th to the 22nd in the beautiful country of Belize. The Real Estate Guys have been bringing investors to Belize for more than 18 years now, and our discovery trip is designed to show you the market like nobody else can. Sure, Belize is breathtakingly beautiful. The people are wonderful. And wait till you taste the food. But the real opportunity is the real estate investment potential. There's all kinds of opportunity in Belize when it comes to real estate, including both long and short-term rentals, commercial and retail triple net properties, business opportunities, land acquisition, development, agriculture, and more. And as the only country in Latin America with English as its official language, it's easy to understand the law. Property rights are strong, and contracts are in English. And in the top tourist market, a unique situation exists where demand for rentals continues to outstrip supply, creating a compelling environment for investors. So come see for yourself. Join me July 19th to 22nd in Ambergris Caye, Belize, as we study the market, learn about the sustainable drivers, and tour lots of beautiful real estate. And like all of our field trips, there are no properties for sale during the weekend. Rather, you'll meet lots of local providers that will help educate you about the market so that you can follow up with them after the trip if the market is interesting to you. You've heard about Belize on the Real Estate Guys for all these years. Now come see what all the excitement is about. Plus, we'll have lots of time over meals and activities to talk about all things real estate. To get the details, go to the website at realestateguysradio.com and click on Events, where you'll find the Belize Discovery Trip. Once you register, you'll get information about our group hotel rates as well as travel details. So join me in Belize, July 19th to 22nd. It's a beautiful country with lots of amazing possibilities, and the only thing missing is you. Go to realestateguysradio.com under Events, and I look forward to seeing you in beautiful Belize.
Hi, this is Steve Forbes. You're listening to The Real Estate Guys. Have fun. You'll learn something.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Guys radio program. Thanks for tuning into the show. It's time to make plans to join us for the 22nd Annual Investors Summit at Sea. We're getting back on a cruise ship, and it's going to be amazing. A couple of days in a hotel in Florida, and then off to the high seas. We'll visit Aruba, Curacao, and Bonaire with sales legend Tommy Hopkins, awesome real estate guy Kenny McElroy, Mr. Macro George Gammon, single-family investor and fellow podcaster Jason Hartman, the editor of the Gold newsletter Brian London, and the one and only Peter Schiff. Grab your spot now by sending an email to summit@realestateguysradio.com or go to investorsummitatsea.com. We're talking with Dave Zook about how he turned a tax problem in his own life into a billion-dollar business. Before we get back to that interview, it's time to play Real Estate Trivia. Your chance to win a prize by knowing today's Real Estate Trivia question. When you hear the question and think you know the answer, send your best guess to trivia@realestateguysradio.com. Trivia@realestateguysradio.com. First person that gets it right gets one of the best-selling books in the world, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the 20th anniversary edition. If you already have it, I'm sure you can find somebody who could use a copy. That can be yours if you know today's real estate trivia question. We brought you last week's show from beautiful Belize, and we asked this. The Belize rainforest is home to the largest flying bird in all of North, Central, and South America. What is it? It's the Jabiru stork. This large stork is found in the Americas from Mexico to Argentina, and it sometimes wanders into the U.S., usually in Texas, but has also been reported over the years in Mississippi, Oklahoma, and Louisiana. Here's our real estate trivia question for this week. The tomato is the most harvested fruit in the world. Which country grows the most tomatoes? Yeah, tomatoes are grown in a lot of places, indoors, outdoors. But which country produces the most tomatoes? If you know or just want to guess, send your best guess to trivia@realestateguysradio.com. Give us your name, the answer to the question, and your physical mailing address. The first person that gets it right gets the 20th anniversary edition of Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. That's today's real estate trivia question. We're with the real asset investor, our good friend Dave Zook, just past $1 billion in equity raised and no signs of stopping. Dave, you've done all kinds of real estate, and beyond real estate, you've invested in the metals and uranium and cryptocurrency. But you have a project now you've been working on for the last little bit, and it's starting to get to that exciting level. You know, you mentioned before this idea that you would invest in a particular segment for yourself. And I remember when we had you on the show years ago talking about this opportunity with automated teller machines, and that was something you had invested in personally for years, like more than 4 years before you ever raised capital for it. Now you've got a new project, which we talked about a little bit last time we had you on, but it's such a neat niche for just a ton of reasons, and that is car washes. Tell us about what's going on in the world of dirty cars.
Yeah, so we've been active in this space for, going on 4 years, and we've acquired some car washes that were, stabilized or semi-stabilized. And we've been, during that whole process, we were buying premium lots and we were getting them entitled and getting ready to build. And now we're in full-blown construction mode. I think we've got 14 active construction sites out there. We've got new car washes coming out of the ground every couple of weeks, or actually coming into grand opening phase every couple of weeks. And it's an exciting time. And, there's been a lot of institutional appetite lately. This business is hard. There's development and entitlements, and you're working with the state and townships and, getting that stuff going. So there's sort of a moat built around this that keeps a lot of private equity and institutional capital out, because it's hard. And that capital typically isn't as patient. And so it can take 3 years, from the time you put a lot under contract till you get a car wash out of the ground and start heading towards stabilization. And it's just too long. So what we've seen in the last 2 years is institutional demand has been heating up. They've seen what happened in 2020 in 2021, and how we can wash 200 to 300 cars in an hour with 3 people on site.
Wow.
And, I always like to kind of stress test in real life and see, okay, what happened in 2008 to 2010? What this industry look like? The truth is there was a decline in activity of about 8 to 9%. Okay. And the worst part of the 2008 to 2010 financial crisis, it slowed down just a little bit. When you're dealing with 45 to 50% margins, you can deal with a little bit of a downturn. Fast forward to 2020 to current, and you're talking, it was, number one, it was deemed an essential business during, 2020, the pandemic. They took notice that it remained a very active business. You could get a lot of work done with 3 people because of the automation and the technology and all that. So it's really caught the attention of the institutions. And, so we are building a business that we would love to hold for a long time, but we're seeing the premiums, we're seeing the multiples that they're paying on EBITDA for stabilized tunnel car washes. And we believe we can build a large portfolio and sell to an institution within 5 years. So one of the challenges for an institution trying to get a position in the market is a majority of the existing car washes in the United States, I think it's like high 80s or low 90 percentile, is owned by mom and pops who own 3 car washes or less. So picture yourself as an institution. You're trying to get a foothold. You're trying to take a position in the space. If you want to take let's say a 9-figure position, you would have to buy out 10, 20 different mom and pop operators. And all these guys got different softwares and hardwares and different, 5 different kinds of equipment. And so what we're doing is we're building tunnel car washes. It's Tommy's Express. We're the second largest Tommy's Express franchise in the country. By the end of this year, we expect to be number 1. And we're building a portfolio that's everything is the same. Same equipment, same hardware, same software, same management team, same everything. And so we believe that we're going to be able to command a real premium, and there is going to be a payday for our investors, not only on the cash flow during the hold. These things make a lot of sense to hold and operate, but we believe there's a payday coming for our investors, and we're excited.
Well, it's exciting to think about not only an investment that pays well while you hold it, but that there might be this aggregation opportunity, which totally makes sense in this regard. And you've already done this in another space. A lot of the self-storage that you guys have acquired over the years were from mom and pops, and you put together portfolios, and you have gone through selling that out to the large institutions. So it's not like this is brand new to you. But I also love the fact that it's real estate. You're buying a great property, not just a property, but think about the location, how important that is for this business. So you get a great property. You're adding the value to it through construction. You then have that additional value that gets added from the franchisor, so brand recognition and all the systems and all that kind of stuff, and you get the income up in a bunch of unique ways. So, car wash business isn't a sexy business necessarily. It's been around a long time. There's this kind of self-car washes where you get the hose down and wash it yourself. There's the drive-through ones at the gas station that don't cost very much, but don't do that good of a job either. This is kind of a premium experience that isn't taking a lot of labor, but you also have some really neat ways that you get the revenue up.
Yeah, so there's subscription revenue. That's normally in a healthy car wash location. We like to see it somewhere around between 55 and 60% subscription based. We like retail guys coming in and paying, $10, $15, $20, depending on the quality of the wash. And we like that retail business, but we also like to have a healthy mix of subscription based. Let's say you have a rainy month. Let's say it's March and it's raining, nonstop. And you're not getting much business at your car wash. The money still keeps coming in. It's subscription based. And that's the other thing too that institutions have paid a lot of attention to. Think Netflix or some of the subscription, they place a real premium on consistent subscription revenue. And so that's been a big part of our value creation. The other thing too is, especially over the last, in the last 3 years, it's been hard. It's been really hard to buy an asset that's stabilized, it's giving off good income, it's getting you a good return on your invested dollar. And, in those times, it could make sense, if you're thinking along these lines, if you're willing to go out and do it, to create the value. When you think about the volume that this kind of car wash does, 200 to 300 cars an hour, it's designed to get your car in off the road and back on the road in 2 to 3 minutes. So what do you want to support that kind of volume? You want the best lot in the best part of the city. You want to be on the corner of Main and Main. You want to be at the busy intersection. You want to be able to make sure you've got good ingress egress to make that flow of traffic be real smooth. So that's what we've been buying. We've been buying the best little pieces of real estate, acre and a half, 2 acres, that we can find anywhere in the city, and we're building on. We're forcing that value. So if you're thinking, especially over the last couple of years, it's been really hard to find great value in the marketplace. Not saying it's not out there, it is, but it's been a lot harder. And so sometimes you got to go out and create the value, and that's what we're doing here.
Well, and it's good, clean business. Hey, Dave's put together a report on what it would look like to invest in a Tommy's Car Wash. If you're interested in that and learning about the market, just send an email to, you know what's coming, CarWash at realestateguysradio.com, CarWash at realestateguysradio.com, and he'll get you those details. You'll get his contact details. But Dave, we're doing a cool thing we haven't done before. You're coming out to speak at the Secrets of Successful Syndication in Dallas, Texas. And for folks that are interested, the day before, you're going to do a little Tommy's tour. Tell us about that.
I was thinking through this, and I was like, okay, we're having a whole bunch of people coming into town anyway. There's people flying in from Always Do. There's people flying from all over the country, sometimes all over the world, to come to your syndication event. We're like, why not? While everybody's in town, there's a Tommy's Car Wash right around the corner. Let's go see it.
Yeah.
So I just feel like, and I know you believe this, an educated investor is just going to do so much better. So we want to go out and show people exactly how the equipment works. We want to show them the business model. We want to show them the automation, the technology. You'll get to meet our team. Look, if you're coming to Dallas anyway, let's get together and learn about car washes. And then, we'll get back in a room and we'll talk, through the business model. We'll talk through the opportunity, how you as an investor may be able to, if this works for you, if this makes sense for you as an investor. We'll talk to you about the numbers and the potential for a return on your investment. And more than anything, we're just looking forward to hanging out with a bunch of good people at Syndication. And while you're in Dallas, we're putting on this event. So it's going to be fun. We're looking forward to it.
It's going to be on Thursday, the 21st of March in Dallas, Texas. When you register for the Secrets of Successful Syndication, you'll find out how to get registered for that event. If you're listening and thinking, well, man, I'm not sure I would want to syndicate, so I'm not that interested in the seminar, but this car wash thing sounds interesting. Well, we already have a hotel room block for you, and basically the transportation will pick you up at the same hotel we're doing the syndication event. Dave will take you out with his team, tour the car wash, and you'll get to see it up close and personal, and then afterwards come back to the hotel and debrief a little bit. Obviously, if you're interested in investing, this is a great way to, kick the tires, maybe literally, but also just a great way to hang around with a guy who has figured it out in the space. So all you have to do is send an email to CarWash at realestateguysradio.com. You'll get the report, plus you'll get the details on this little extracurricular activity, or register for the Secrets of Successful Syndication. That's coming up the 2 days after that, March 22nd and 23rd. And when you register for that, you'll be invited to come at no additional charge on this little tour. So super excited about that, Dave. Can't wait to see you in Dallas, and thanks for being on today.
All right. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
There's the real asset investor, Dave Zook. Come check him out at the Secrets of Successful Syndication in March, and an opportunity to check out the Tommy's Car Wash business. You're tuned to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms.
Need help with your real estate investment portfolio? Check out the resources page at realestateguysradio.com.
Real Estate Guys listeners, are you tired of losing real estate deals due to financing issues? Have you had enough of waiting on banks, lenders, and investor groups to fund new projects? What if there were a way to eliminate all the hassle and invest in real estate on your own terms? I'm here to tell you there is. Patrick Donahoe here from Paradigm Life. I'm an Investopedia Top 100 Most Influential Financial Advisor, and I recently wrote a best-selling book about the financial strategy that changed my entire investment model, and the one that could change yours. To get a copy of my book for free and learn how you can maximize your real estate portfolio by acting as your own bank, send an email to mybank@realestateguysradio.com. Don't make another real estate deal without reading my book first. Email mybank@realestateguysradio.com now to get your copy for free.
Forbes rated Memphis the best cash flow market in the nation, and our good friend Terry Kerr at Mid-South Homebuyers has been the premier turnkey rental property provider in Memphis for over 13 years. With an A+ rating for the Better Business Bureau, Terry has renovated over 750 houses. Real Estate Guys listeners have snapped up hundreds. Discover what these satisfied investors already know. Mid-South's properties are completely renovated with a 1-year warranty and a lifelong rental guarantee. They're affordable, well-managed, and easy to own. Perfect for beginning investors and veterans alike. Get in on the action. Contact Terry and his team via email at midsouth@realestateguysradio.com.
Hi, I'm Nomi Prinz, author of Collusion. You're listening to The Real Estate Guys.
And welcome back to the Real Estate Guys Show. Thanks for tuning into the program today. You want to hang out with Dave Zook and CPA Tom Wheelwright and the Real Estate Guys coming out to the Secrets of Successful Syndication. It's right around the corner. It takes place to the end of March in Dallas, Texas. Get the details by sending an email to syndication@realestateguysradio.com. syndication@realestateguysradio.com. Well, I tell you, I feel like a proud papa. Dave Zook passing $1 billion of equity raised.
You know, it's interesting because when we first started sharing the great business opportunity to go from being a real estate investor to really being a real estate entrepreneur through syndication, that was back in 2011, 2012, I think, when we first started talking about it. It was actually 2011. And then the next year, 2012, is when we met Dave. And Dave didn't come out because he wanted to meet the real estate guys, barely knew who we were. But he was seeking Robert Kiyosaki. And in 2012 was the first year that Robert Kiyosaki and Tom Wheelwright and Kenny McElroy and the whole Rich Dad team back at the time ended up coming on our investor summit. And Dave was coming out because he had heard that Robert Kiyosaki had claimed that you could make $1 million a year and not pay any income tax. And so Dave, rather than go to the library and check out books to try to figure out if this was right or wrong, he said, well, I'm going to go directly to the source. I'm going to find this guy and I'm going to ask him to his face, how do I do that? And so it tells you a little bit about the way Dave goes about his business. When he speaks at the Secrets of Successful Syndication, not to steal his thunder, but I'm going to, one of the things he talks about is investing in other people's 10,000 hours. You only have so much life to live. You cannot be an expert in every single thing. And so the way you really get things done is to seek out people who are really good in their one thing. And of course, Kiyosaki is a teacher, great financial teacher, and he partners with people like Tom Wheelwright, who happens to be a very effective CPA. And then that combination of taking what Tom knows and Kiyosaki's desire to teach it, not just by teaching, but also by doing, is what led a guy like Dave Zook to be able to find them on our summit. Now, you put all that in a blender and put it together. How many lives has Dave Zook affected now that he's out there, not only teaching what he's learned, because he does that, because education is part of the process by which he attracts investors, but also just in terms of the number of people that put capital to work in tax-advantaged investments that are now no longer throwing that money away, but they're actually using it for purposes they would prefer to use it for, rather than let the government decide how it's going to be used, and keep more of that wealth for themselves and their family.
Great part of Dave's story is the fact that he sought out that information face-to-face. And yeah, that cost him some time and some money to come on the summit, but there's no doubt that that was an investment that has paid him in huge dividends. And today he continues to educate himself, and he's going to be sharing with folks at the syndication event from the stage for sure. But then he sticks around, and I just love at all the breaks and at lunch, he's just in conversations with folks that are not yet to where he is. We've had a couple of students that have passed $1 billion, not in real estate deals, $1 billion in equity raised. We have more on the way that have raised $100 million, and those that have raised $50 million, and some that have raised $10 million. And the whole secret of syndication, like Dave, he wasn't that interested in. Another faculty member, Ryan Gibson, was an airline pilot, interested in real estate, didn't really know what syndication was, but both those guys came to the event and saw a way to leverage who they are and what their problem was into opportunity.
Yeah, and I think that's really ultimately the best businesses come when you have so much empathy for your customer, because you are the customer. You are out there seeking to solve the very problem you've got. It's so funny because in our business, we spend a lot of time seeking out these guys and inviting them, just like all the people listening right now. We're inviting you, come on out and learn the things that we teach. And we know it works. We've been doing it longer than anybody else, and I think produce more successful people, at least at bigger numbers. And yet I remember Dave, and we don't talk about this much, but Dave was part of our original Inner Circle program, and we never talk about it because it was only a handful of people. Today we've merged that into Ken McElroy, George Gammon, and Jason Hartman, what we call the collective Inner Circle. And so that's no longer directly specifically about syndication. But back in like 2014, when Dave was first starting out as a syndicator, he was in that program, and we were on a group conference call, a mastermind call. We're talking through everybody's issues, and Dave was struggling to raise his first $1 million, which of course today he raises by sending out an email. But back then he was really struggling, and he's like, you know what? I'm a successful business guy. I make pretty good money. You know, 6 figures, way into 6 figures, maybe 7 figures. He did well, and he was about to quit. He was like, I don't need to do this. I don't need this grief. And we talked him through it. He stayed in the business, and he went from that 1 million. Fast forward less than 10 years to 1 billion. And it isn't so much about all the money that Dave made, which is fantastic. I mean, yes, you go into business to make a lot of money, but how many people did he serve to earn that $1 billion? How many people did he help? And of course, the other part with Dave is his resilience, because it just hasn't all been happy high notes. Not only did he want to quit, one of his very first deals when he went out to invest his own money as a passive, he ended up just wanting to test the waters, and he lost a lot of money on that first deal. And to his credit, he didn't just walk away and say, well, this sucks. It's no good. Everybody's bad. It's hopeless. I'm going to go back and do what I know. He was determined to figure this business out. And so he took the loss, but he got the lesson. Next time he did a better job picking partners. He understood how important finding and vetting those people were. And so sometimes people lose money early on in their career, and they place a bigger bet than they can afford to lose. And that's problem number one. And when they lose, it takes them completely out of the game. So don't ever do that. And then number two, when you do suffer that inevitable loss, because nobody bats 1,000, you got to get the lesson and stay in the game, and then leverage the lesson, because the lesson is far more valuable than the investment. Nobody likes to lose money, but if you get the lesson, you will make more money on the lesson than you lost in getting it.
There's really 2 ways to become a profitable syndicator. One is to spend 20 years banging around, figuring it out, taking your lumps, getting the lessons, and getting better and better in both your team selection, market selection, and deal selection over time. The other is to collapse time frames and get around a whole bunch of people that are already doing it successfully. That's what we're going to recommend. Come join us for the Secrets of Successful Syndication, March 22nd and 23rd in Dallas, Texas. 2 full days, plus all kinds of fun extracurricular activities. If you'd like more details, just send an email to syndication@realestateguysradio.com or go to the website at realestateguysradio.com, and it's easy to see our syndication event. We'd love to have you join us. Big thanks to Dave Zook for sharing his big brain with us today and his success. So happy he's hit that big milestone. Speaking of milestones, next week we've got an extraordinary gentleman who more than 50 years ago started a little brand that today is a household name. RE/MAX co-founder Dave Leniger back on the Real Estate Guys next week. Until then, go out and make some equity happen.
This episode of the Real Estate Guys radio show is brought to you by Paradigm Life. Powerful cash management strategies using life insurance. Learn more at beyourbank.com. Mid-South Home Buyers. Low-cost, turnkey cash flow properties in Memphis, Tennessee. Corporate Direct. Asset protection strategies for real estate investors from attorney and rich dad advisor Garrett Sutton. Find these and other great companies under the Resources tab at realestateguysradio.com. To learn how you can expose your product or service to the Real Estate Guys audience, call 888-489-7723 extension 4. That's 888-489-7723 extension 4. Or use the feedback page at realestateguysradio.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week right here on the Real Estate Guys Radio Show.